Here in That Park Place, we have been talking about the monorail and the monorail specifically at Walt Disney World. What aspects are we talking about when it comes to the monorail? We are talking about, hey, its life cycle is completely shot. It is time for Disney to upgrade the monorail system at Walt Disney World, and nothing underscores that better than, well, maybe a fire breaking out on their Walt Disney World monorail system. Here you go from Orlando Theme Park Zone. By the way, these guys, awesome stuff right here. I was going to feature Block Mickey, but these guys, they're up on it to an extent that I couldn't believe. Here you go. Walt Disney World monorail system reopens following reported fire on monorail Silver. The Walt Disney World monorail system is currently closed following reports of a fire on board monorail Silver. This is November 23rd, 2025, by the way. Shortly before 9 a.m. this morning, an emergency call was made for a fire near Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. Based on posts on X, monorail Silver suffered some kind of malfunction, which led to an alleged electrical fire. Ugh, that's not good right there. The initial post, this by Chris in the Concierge Lounge, I didn't have seeing a monorail, have an electrical fire on my bingo card while on my morning run this morning. There was quite a bit of smoke that smelled like burning electrical insulation coming out between the cars. By the time I went and got my phone, I got it out. It was the express and looked empty. They have the walking path on the Magic Kingdom closed. You can see where he suspected that fire was actually emanating from. And to confirm this report, we actually have this from Marlene Borrego, monorail in front of the Grand Flow this morning around 9:30 a.m. with a small fire. You can see right there. Now, they did have to evacuate this monorail, in which Orlando Theme Park Zone actually has video of that as well. You can see the operation of they call it the, what? They have a specific term for it. I believe it's like an in-show exit, if I'm not mistaken, right there. Those procedures, when it comes to the monorail, especially from an elevated beamway system, not great. You can also see this other video, which was shared on social media, of the first responders actually extinguishing that fire right there. Culture, I want to kind of hear from you on this, because I mean, I have researched the monorails for an extended period of time, but I think you could be far more instructive in this regard. What do you think about the current monorail fleet, and is it time to finally replace it?
Almost 20 years ago, they should have replaced this.
Yeah, that's true.
So the answering the both questions simultaneously, yeah, this stuff is very old. It's not the first time that there's been electrical issues, fire, whatever you want to call it, on board one of these with an in-show exit, which is an inelegant term for try not to fall.
True.
And I just all I can say is these are wonderful forms of transportation, but they have a lot of dangerous elements to them that perhaps they need to work upon. And one of them would just to be if replacing the trains. If they could just replace the trains and make the exiting a little bit safer, and all of those other things, elements that certainly would be helpful. But it's not even the beamway that's the problem. It's the actual vehicles themselves, and they've needed this for 2 decades. Ever since the last time we had a terrible, horrific, and unspeakable accident on a beamway, this needed to have been redone, because anything that they've tried to do, whether it be to automate or anything else, which was very poorly done, and a poor result was achieved from trying to automate them, hasn't done anything to improve their safety. Because at any moment, obviously, and this is something that even Clownfish TV and other outlets that go to the park regularly, like we do, have reported on. You can be aboard one of these and have a small fire cause you to stop moving, and then have to be towed off of the beamway. So just consider this: these trains needed to be replaced 20 years ago. At least.
Yeah, the Monorail Silver, interestingly enough, I was just looking at this. It is a Mark 6 monorail, as many people know, but what people might not know is that it was one of the first to be refurbished in this latest round of refurbishment that spanned from 2019 to 2022. Monorail Silver coming online June 30th, 2019, with an interior refresh. So there you go. But I'm wanting to see when the Mark 6 is actually, so they went into service 1989, which... you're seeing Disneyland's right there. That's the Mark 7s. But the Mark 6s have been in use since the 80s and has that kind of Learjet design there. And look, I don't have a problem with how it looks. But as Culture actually pointed out right there, it's these are 20 years out of date. And really, you should be taking the entire rolling stock and replacing it by this point. They have a service life. And usually that's about 20 years. The Mark 4s were from 1971 through 1991. So that's kind of the time cycle that they're usually on. And yet we've been living with these for now. It's going to be almost 40 years over there. And I think, 2029, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go ahead and get somebody on who has maybe experience with the monorail system. It is the one, the only, Follow the Bradley's fun, Ron. Hello there, Ron. What's going on today?
Hello.
Fire on the monorail recently.
Yeah,
Led to evacuation. And by the way, the other monorails that were actually on that same beamway, they had to be towed to, I believe, the storage area. And so for an extended amount of that day, it's back into service now, but for an extended portion of that day, nobody could actually use the monorail system, including those guests who have been paying a luxury price at like Grand Floridian, the Polynesian, the Contemporary, and so forth. Ron, what do we got to do here? What should we do?
Well, replace it with all Skyliners. I don't know. I like the Skyliner system, but the one thing that this proves about the monorail system is the monorail is fire. Yeah, so as the kids say today,
Terrible joke. Terrible.
I know it's horrible, but I mean the monorail. It's old. I mean it just is. Oh, and the funny thing is they'll keep refurbishing the interior of the cars. Like they keep, it's like, okay, so this is newly refurbished interior, newly refurbished exterior, paint jobs, whatever, but that doesn't change the mechanics of how they are operating. And the lines are old, the trains are old. It's time to upgrade the system. And I was thinking, you guys were talking about the Marks 4, 5, 6. I'm like, in fiction, Tony Stark has like Mark 109 level Iron Man suit in a couple of years. Why can't you do in real life just one level up, just one level up, guys? Is it really that difficult?
Well, I think
does the original company that built this monorail, does that company still exist, or do they have to do another company?
I actually don't think it does. Yeah.
No,
so you have to go to another company.
You just actually jumped on one of the biggest problems here. Disney sold off all of its original developmental corporations that built these systems. So this now belongs to Bombardier, which is famous for making, I don't know, snowmobiles and crap.
And they're out of Canada, right?
Yeah, and then you have you had the Wedway People Mover. That was Walter Elias Disney. That was his, but they sold off People Mover to another company because they're stupid. Okay, and this is one of the biggest problems with Disney is that they no longer control a lot of the stuff that they used to just be able to willfully replace as needed, which includes light posts and other cast items, by the way, including manhole covers and crap. The stuff that they used to do in-house, they don't do in-house anymore.
Well, and that's the thing too, Culture. Obviously, it's much more expensive to go to a separate company, get these facilitated. I know they had problems actually with the Mark 7 monorails when they were delivered to Disneyland in the not so distant past, in which they were using old blueprints and so forth and had to adapt on the fly, and it delayed these monorails, that being monorail orange, blue, and red, from debuting at Disneyland Resort.
They had trouble with the Mark III skirts that they had to adapt for the Mark 7s, and again, the beams are beams. The trains are built specifically for the beams, the width and the style, whether or not they're a walkover and a passover or not. I mean, you have to recall that Bombardier builds these trains in multiple places, including Las Vegas, and they are no two of them seem to be alike.
Right. Well, I kind of want to hear from you, Ron, Vulture, whoever wants to actually comment on this. I have heard to replace the entire fleet of monorails at Walt Disney World, it would be something like $1 billion. Is that true? Should the company undercut that cost? Go ahead, please.
Well, you look at what we just discovered about what they spent on Deadpool and Wolverine just to produce it. Over $500 million to produce and market it. Okay. Maybe if the company thought about what their bread and butter is, which is the parks, they'd actually spend money in the parks like they used to. And it would be worth $1 billion if that was the cost to replace the trains. It would be worth it. There are a lot of things that would be worth it for them to upgrade in the parks. And you look at the money that they are spending in the parks, all the construction walls up right now, and they're all on projects that I don't think there's enough people out there that truly care about those projects. Look, if you don't improve the infrastructure, if you don't make Walt Disney World the destination that it once was, why does any of the other stuff matter? Why does your entertainment matter when you keep producing crap entertainment? This company has changed so much under Bob Iger. Even going back to, and I didn't even realize this, but pre-Marvel, pre-MCU, I didn't realize under Bob Iger the other crap that was being made, like the Lone Ranger was made under him. Horrible.
John Carter.
Yeah, it's just a number of things. He's never been a good CEO. How has he maintained being CEO for so long when this stuff happens? I don't get it. I want to see new leadership. I want to see new monorails. I want to see this stuff can be prevented. And it's gotten weird. And I think there's a really weird influencer problem. I think that with the Walt Disney Company feeling like they have so many positive Walt Disney World influences out there and Disneyland influencers out there that they'll cover, for them doing this kind of stuff. I'm so glad that we exist, because they need to be called out. They're not getting called out enough, and they need to be called out so that they will take this stuff seriously, and maybe new leadership will actually start to improve it. I have a lot of doubts, but I'm hoping.
Well, I'm hoping too. We actually called them out a little bit earlier in the week with that Zootopia video that we just actually posted here on That Park Place, going over the financials and what that movie would have to achieve in order to send Disney in the black right there, along with Avatar: Fire and Ash for the calendar year of 2025. And what we discovered there was that they're in roughly around $1 billion in the hole right now. That's if they had not produced any content. They would have had, they'd be, they wouldn't have suffered $1 billion loss, and maybe they could have applied that $1 billion towards a monorail line in order to provide a robust fleet of monorails for their very high-paying hotel guests at the Grand Flo, Contemporary, and the Polynesian. Instead, though, they have squandered so much of that cash on other things, like Ron beautifully pointed out right there, like the entertainment film project, and so forth, that they're now behind the 8 ball in a dramatic way for Walt Disney World. And I hope that they do something about the monorail fleet, but I'm not counting on it. I think that they're going to they're gonna try to extend the lifespan of these monorails far past their expiration date. And unfortunately, I think more of these kind of occurrences, maybe not fires, but more of these kind of mechanical occurrences and so forth, in which you have a disruption of service, will continue to plague Walt Disney World Resort. Not good.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.